Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. Today I thought I'd have a little bit of a play with some packaging and put some things into my packaging journal. Now, for those of you that are new, welcome. Thank you for tuning in today, and hello and welcome back to all my regulars. Now, the packaging journal is a journal that I work in from time to time. I started it back in Scraptember, made it out of packaging, and as you can see, I have done a few different projects in it, and I'm continuing to put things into it as I make things. So I thought today I would pull out some packaging that I really love and make some tags out of a chocolate box. Now I have a video on this of how I made it and the different projects that I have put into it, so I will link that below in my packaging journal playlist. So today I've pulled out a piece of packaging from a chocolate box that I really love, and I'm going to turn it into some tags to go into my journal and maybe into one of my other journals. So let me get organized and we'll have a look at our materials. Now I have a beautiful chocolate box here from a Whittaker's chocolate bar, and it's the New Zealand collection, and I've saved this and I've had this in my stash for months and months and months. My husband got given this bar of chocolate from a colleague at work after they went to New Zealand, I think, on a holiday earlier in the year. And you can see here, I'll just show you, the printing on the box is beautiful. So it's got a lovely blue background, and then it's got gold, and it's got all little motifs of things that are from New Zealand, like the fern and the kiwi and different types of plants and animals and birds. And I just couldn't bring myself to throw this away because the patterning on it was lovely. So like I said, I've had it sitting in my stash and I just thought, it's packaging and it's beautiful. I'm going to do something with it and put it into my packaging journal. I'm not wanted to cut that up until I come on to the camera. So we'll cut that up together and prep it. And I'm going to make 2 tags out of it. And you can see that I have pulled out an array of ephemera. I have 2 heroes, and I think that their names are Doris and Morton. They are in New Zealand. They've immigrated to New Zealand, and they're going on their 5th, here's a number 5, they're going on their 5th date today. And the story will unfold as I put the tags together. So I have that. I also have some calico, and I'm going to actually stamp a fern onto the calico because I looked for some ferns, and the only paper that I had that had a small amount of imagery on it that had some ferns on it was this one. This is a retired Stampin' Up! Paper. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of this collection is. I've had it for years, but I'm going to chop that up, and I'm going to use this on the back of the tag to cover the back of the tag after I've cut the box up. So I thought, I think I'd like to do some stamping onto some calico because I have a fern stamp. Now that stamp is from Stampin' Up! Daisy Lane, and I think this is 4 or 5 years old. It's a retired stamp. I'm going to stamp some gold and some black ferns onto there. So let's do that first because I'll need this to dry well before I get started, and we can come back to the chocolate box. So let's start with that. I'll pop these to the side. Now I just purchased my calico by the meter from Spotlight here in Australia. I'm using archival pigment ink in Galaxy Gold from Brilliance, and I'm just going to stamp some gold ferns because different species of ferns are part of the New Zealand native plants. I don't know a lot about all the different native plants in other countries, to be honest. I only kind of know them about Australia. But hello to all of our friends across the pond. I have been to New Zealand, a few times now. I have an auntie who is a New Zealander, so we've obviously travelled to see family in the past. I love New Zealand. Both my husband and I both love New Zealand and are very happy to travel there at any time. So you can see that I have stamped a few fern fronds on there just randomly. And now I'm going to use VersaFine to do some black. So I'm trying not to overthink it too much. There we go. There's my calico. And I'm going to set that to the side and let that dry, and we'll come back to that. I may have to iron it to get it to set dry so that it's not going to smudge, but we'll see how it goes before I get too far along. Now while that's drying, let's cut up our box and cut it to size. I'm going to first of all cut off the flaps. I want to try and keep it as big as possible, so I can't really tell you the sizes of this. I'm going to just try and get as much out of it as I can. But you could make tags out of any kind of packaging that you've got that are sizes that are relevant to your chocolate boxes. I just thought that this box was just so lovely that it was a shame just to throw it away. So I didn't want to do that. Okay, there we go. One is slightly smaller than the other, and that's because the back of the box was slightly smaller, but that's okay. They don't have to be the same size. And this one has a perforation on the top for opening, but I'm going to glue that shut. I want to keep it as big as I possibly can. So I will tell you around about how big they are. And this one is measuring 8.5 centimeters wide, which is about 3 3/8 by 18.8 centimeters, which is just under 7.5. And this one is measuring the same in the height, but in the width it's measuring 8.3 centimeters wide, which is around about 3 1/4. This is about 1/8 of an inch narrower, so about 3 millimeters narrower, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to back it with that scrapbook paper that I have. So I'm going to cut this 8.6 exactly. Yes, and that's going to go on the back. Beautiful. And this one, we're going to cut it at exactly 8.3. Wonderful. Let's stick those on. And I'm going to glue that down a little bit with glue stick, but then I'm going to run art glitter glue around the edge. I want this to stick well on the edge, especially over that perforation. I think I mentioned in a video recently that I love making tags, and that's what prompted this tag making session today. I just thought, I feel like making some big tags, and what have I got that I can make it with? And I pulled out my junk box. I've got a box of packaging and junk mail, and found this and thought, yes, it's time. It's time to do something with that. And it's been quite a while since I've stamped on some fabric. So I thought, let's do that. I haven't done that in a while, and I don't think I've actually stamped on fabric in a video before. So that was good, doing something different. I'm going to stick that under my mat for it to stick nice and flat. And we'll do this one. Yes, like I was saying, I've been to New Zealand a few times. It's very easy to fly to New Zealand from Brisbane. I think it's only like a 3-hour flight from Brisbane to Auckland. And I've travelled to New Zealand a few times as a child, because obviously I mentioned that my auntie, she's a New Zealander. So I travelled there as a child a few times. And then my husband, he'd never been to New Zealand. I think it was about 15 years ago. We went on a big trip to New Zealand. It was his first time. And we hired a car on the North Island, and we started in Auckland and we went up to the Bay of Islands, and then we drove all the way down, went to different places and ended up in Wellington, and then we caught the Picton ferry over to the South Island, hired a car in Picton, and then we travelled all the way around the South Island right to the very end to Bluff, I think it's called, or Bluff Point or something like that, right down the very end. And then came back to Christchurch and flew home out of Christchurch. And it was the most magic holiday. I'm just going to stick that one under my mat and get this one out. So let's just do some corners on this. So I'm using the Very Best Trio punch. It's a retired punch from Stampin' Up. And it does nice triangles on the top, cuts the corners off as your tag. It's going to do a small round on the bottom. There we go, there's one. Let's do the other one. There we go, there's my 2 tag bases. Got some nice paper on the back. I'm going to ink the edges of those. Yes, so like I was saying, we ended our trip in Christchurch, and we were there. I think we had a pretty good trip. It was somewhere between 5 and 6 weeks. I think it was like just over 5 weeks we were there. So we went for quite a good amount of time. My parents kindly looked after our teenage children then, late teens. Well, you know, they were pretty good in that they were self-sufficient. I'm not sure that they were well behaved the whole time, especially my boys. Okay, just inking the back of that. Okay, we have our 2 bases ready. Let's do them this way because I have in my head what I'm doing first. Okay, now I did prep some of the calico earlier, and that was because I wasn't sure how long it would take to dry. Now, to be honest, it actually took quite a while. So here's our one that we did a little bit earlier. Okay, it was about 20 minutes ago that I did this, and let's see on this how much it's still smudging potentially. Yes, it's still lifting off. So if I was needing this done in a hurry, I would iron this. I'd turn it upside down, put it onto some blotting paper, maybe some cartridge paper, and give it an iron just to try and heat set it so that when you're working with it, it doesn't smudge. But it's still wet. But I stamped these much earlier this morning and they're dry now. And I actually dried these ones with my heat tool. So they're definitely dry. You can see here, I want to keep this pattern as much as I can because this is the pattern that I'm drawn to. I think that I've mentioned in other videos. I'm extremely drawn to repetitive patterns that have structure and then lots of little detail on them. And I just couldn't bring myself to cover that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down with some glue stick, and then I'm going to build my collage on top of it, and it will probably hold the rest of it down reasonably well. I'm going to put a little bit of art glitter glue where I know that I've got things going. I wanted to leave a little bit of a white edge. And then I'm going to fold that over and glue this bit onto the back. So same thing. I'm actually going to put glue around the back of the edge of this one. Glue it over. Good burnish. So there we go. Let's do the other one. Yes, so we travelled all over New Zealand, and then we've since been back on cruise, or cruise actually. Like I said, we love New Zealand. There was one time actually that we were looking at jobs there. We're thinking, oh, this is so lovely. I think we could live here. We particularly like Queenstown and Lake Whittaker, Lake Tekapo. I'm probably pronouncing them all wrong. But yeah, the southern part of the South Island we really liked. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's now create our story. And we have Doris here. And I have a little bit of washi because I have a symbol here, a packaging symbol that I want to cover up. We've got some flowers. These aren't from New Zealand, the flowers, creative license and all that. And I have a number 5 because it's their 5th date. And I have a ticket here with a fern on it. I'm going to have her perching on there. And what else do we have? Oh, we have a ticket to the theatre. So Morton obviously is taking Doris to the theatre, which is lovely. And she's perched in the flowers. Yes, I'm liking that. Now I have a little butterfly here to hide in amongst the flowers. So let's put a tiny bit of colour onto this. Now this piece here is a Tim Holtz piece, and let me tell you what that is. It is engraving gravure, and it has 78 pieces in it, and it's got all black and white items that I pull out occasionally. So I just want to put a little bit of colour on this, not a lot, and I'm going to use my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens, and they've got pigment Indian ink in them. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the flowers, rub it off so it's not too intense. I just want really subtle colour. Sounds like we've got a whippersnipper happening next door. If you can hear some mowing, I'm sorry about that. The lawnmower man has turned up next door. I might close the door. Alright, let's put a tiny little bit of ink around that, just to age it just slightly. And I'll show you what it looks like. So it's just taken that starkness off of it. It's very subtle, which is what I wanted for her to be sitting on. Alright, let's layer this up. Okay, I'm going to start by putting on a little bit of washi tape that is, it's got some script text on it. Our flower, whatever it is, I'm not sure what it is, but it's now got blue flowers on it. Let's tuck a few things underneath that need to go under. So our story here is that Doris and Morton are going on their 5th date, and Morton has got himself a new car that he's picking her up in. It's a model 1907 model. They've been dating for 7 years. Yes, they first met in 1900 on the 21st of February, I think it was. Yes, 21st of February in the year 1900. They first met. He met her because she was processing his immigration documents to move to New Zealand, to immigrate to New Zealand. In London, she worked in the immigration department as a clerical assistant. Very modern of her to do that. And that's when they first met, and they got chatting, and she said that she would love to immigrate to either New Zealand or Australia, but had to work to save her money to move. But he moved. He moved on. So what they did was, she said to him, "Can you please write to me and tell me what it's like to help me make a decision of whether I'm going to immigrate to New Zealand or Australia?" He was pretty chuffed by that because he was quite impressed by Doris. Morton was. They started corresponding. Even though this is only their 5th date in 7 years, they have been corresponding all that time. So they corresponded, and they've kind of been dating via correspondence. They obviously have been writing love letters almost to each other, and she decided to immigrate to New Zealand. Once she moved, that's when the dating has started. So that's pretty special. So Morton has picked her up. He's bought himself a new car. Picked her up. She's got her best Sunday outfit on and a lovely hat. They're going on a date. So I have a little ticket for down the bottom here with the date that they first met each other, when she was helping to process his immigration application. There we go. That's lovely. So there's Doris. We might put some gold splatters on her once she dries. Now let's move on to Morton's. Now Morton, he's got a number 5 as well. Like I said, it's their 5th date. And he's all about the figures. He's all about the numbers, Morton is. So I have stamped out this stamp because it's got a ledger on it, and it's got some information about his new model car. Now that stamp was from Poppy Crafts, stamp number 598, and I buy Poppy Crafts here in Australia from Craft Online. And I'm just going to rough this up a bit now. Punch those corners so that it looks like a ticket. And I want to rough up those edges a bit. I'm just going to use the edge of my scissors. So I just stamped this on some cardstock, coloured cardstock. And I've torn it, which is wonderful because I'm going to curl that edge up a bit. And let's fold this and put a bit of bending in it. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this is an invoice he's keeping track of all of his spending. It's got a fern on it, and that was what drew me to it. It's got model number 1907. So let's assume that's for his car. But it's got Morris on the top, and that's because Morton's last name is Morris. So if these two get married, her name's going to be Doris Morris. I couldn't resist. Doris Morris. What a memorable name that is. All right. I'll just ink this. I pulled out the fern out of that same pack from Tim Holtz. And obviously I've got Tim Holtz paper dolls. Got a ticket here with how much his dinner's going to cost. So let's put that down somewhere. And our fern, we need to sit him on something. It won't be a New Zealand fern, but that's okay. We can pretend. And we've got a number 5 because, like I said, it's their 5th date. And, I have a New Zealand stamp. And I have a stamped seal that says London. So that's where they came from. All right, let's glue this down. So we'll do which bit first? We want this bit first. Let's stick it first. So he's taking her out for dinner and then to the theatre. So it might be proposal night, mightn't it? That's pretty lavish to do in 1907. That's a big date night for Mr. Morton Morris. He's pulling out all the stops. And I think she's expecting a proposal because she's moved here all the way from London with no family. She's hoping, I think the expectations are up. Fun creating little stories like this. And it's out of a chocolate box packet that would have got thrown in the bin. If you haven't tried Whittaker's chocolates, they're worth a try. They're pretty good. They're stamped down. Our New Zealand stamp. Thank you, Auntie Laura. My numbers that I'm using are from Uniquely Creative. Yes, my numbers are from Uniquely Creative and they're called Boho Picnic Vellum Creative Cuts, but these are discontinued. I think I bought them quite a few years ago. He looks pretty smart, doesn't he? Like he looks like he's got his life together. So does she. They're going to make a formidable team in New Zealand. I hope he proposes. And we just have a little seal that I stamped that needed something circular, needed something a little bit more organic down the bottom, and it just has a little London seal on it. I'll tuck that in there. Oh yes, I'm happy with that. Rough up that edge a little bit of the fabric. Alright, that's where we're at with those. And now I'm going to work on the back and we need to put a tie on it. So for the back, I have prepared one. I stamped a piece of paper with gold and then black. And I'm just going to glue it onto the back. And you can see that I went around it with a line. Let's do the same thing to this one. I just drew a line. Not worrying about being perfect. And I'm just going to do a few squiggles on it. So a squiggle here, squiggle here, and a squiggle up. And I'm going to glue them onto the back just to give it a little bit of relief and somewhere to journal. I think I'm going to glue those onto the back with some glue stick and just overlap them. There we go. Okay, let's rip a little piece of this off. Yes, let's do that. Let's do a little piece like that. Okay, we'll put a little bit of art glitter glue on this just to hold it in place. Yes, that looks nice. In the middle, Annie, would be good. Now, I just don't know if I want an eyelet or a tiny attacher. Maybe a gold eyelet might be nice. Hear you talking, saying, use the tiny attacher, Annie. Some of you might be saying, use a gold eyelet, Annie. I wish I could hear you. Sometimes it's nice just to have that little bit of feedback. I'm thinking a gold eyelet. Let's see if I can find a gold eyelet. Unfortunately, the gold ones that I've got aren't deep enough, so I'm not going to be able to use them. That's okay, we'll make do. We'll put one of these on instead. Oh yes, that looks nice. Bit of hardware. That's looking good. Let's put a few splatters onto them. Now, do we want gold or do we want white? I think I'm going to start with white and just do a little bit, and we'll see if that's what I want. Yes, I think the white has just lifted it a little bit. Let's cover her face. Okay, let's clear the decks and I'll show you the tags. Okay, so we've cleared up and we've finished the tags. I've just pulled out that little bit of stamping that I did on calico. I'm really happy with how it turned out actually. I would think that I will be doing it a little bit more often, especially when I'm needing fabric that matches a theme of something that I can't find, but I've got a stamp that works. It was easy to do. The only thing was the drying time. You can see that it's still lifting off of it actually. So I think that I will heat set it with the iron. But let's have a look at our two heroes. So we have Doris. There she is. And we've made two lovely tags out of a Whittaker's chocolate bar box from New Zealand. So I stamped the fabric and I found Doris. And Doris and Morton are going on their 5th date and they've both immigrated to New Zealand. So here we go. Here's the back of the card. I might just clean up the back of the card a little bit. It's got a little bit of glue on it. Give it a bit of an erase. If you ever have glue on your work and you can't get rid of it with a normal eraser, if you get one of these glue erasers, and I got this from Eckersley's here in Australia, but from any really good stationery store, it's really great at lifting the glue without tearing the paper. So they're worth finding if you can manage to find it. But yes, it's a glue eraser. So there's the back of the card and somewhere to write. And you can see that I've carried the theme over of the fern. And we've got a few tickets and the date that they first met. And she's super excited. Look how excited she is. Some of these paper dolls from Tim Holtz, they have no expression. And I suppose that's so that you can make up your own story. But there's not much of a smile happening on Doris. And Morton is much the same. He's looking ecstatic about going on a date with Doris and maybe proposing, isn't he? Look, he's jumping out of his boots. But nevertheless, this is the story we're running with. And I've tried to put a few ferns on it to pick up on the fern from New Zealand, but I wanted to keep the packaging is the point. And I just carried over a little, repeated some of the colouring, put a New Zealand stamp on, and a little stamped seal from London. And once again, there's the back of the card. Okay, so there's our tags for today, made from a Whittaker's chocolate bar packet or box. And if you enjoyed the video and watching the story unfold of Morton and Doris, give me a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. And subscribe to the channel. And I hope you all have an opportunity like I have to do something fun and new. And I will see you all very soon with another project. Thanks again, everybody. Bye for now.